Welcome. Click New Meeting to start the presentation.
Cell and cell organelles. History of the cell.
Cell was initially discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. The cell has a rich and interesting history that has ultimately given way of today's scientific advancements. Robert Hooke observed cork or dead plant cells and called the little boxes he saw as cells. What is a cell? Cell is the basic unit of life. It is not only makes up living things, but they are also living things. Why do we need to study cells? Bodies are made up of cells. We all know that our body is comprised of organs, and organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of cells. That's why cells do all the work of life.
The cell theory.
According to Matthias Kaiden, all plants are made up of cells, while according to Theodor Swan, all animals are made up of cells, and according to Rudolf Virchow, all cells came from cells. And according to cell theory, all living things are composed of cells. Cells are the basic unit of structure and function of all living things, or the building block, and all cells are produced by other cells.
There are two cell types, the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cells are usually single-celled and smaller than eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells are usually found in multicellular organisms, but there are single-celled eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are microscopic organisms that have neither a membrane-bound nucleus nor membrane-bound organelles. Some cell biologists consider the term organelle to describe membrane-bound structures only, whereas other cell biologists define organelles as discrete structures that have a specialized function. Prokaryotes have ribosomes, which are not surrounded by a membrane but do have a specialized function and could therefore be considered organelles. All metabolic functions carried out by a prokaryote takes place in the plasma membrane or the cytosol. A eukaryote, on the other hand, is an organism whose cells are organized into complex structures by internal membranes and the cytoskeleton. The most characteristic membrane-bound structure of eukaryotes is the nucleus. Eukaryotes includes all protists, fungi, plants, and animals. Eukaryotic cells will be classified into two groups based on the number of cells that make an individual organism. First, the unicellular eukaryotic cells and the multicellular eukaryotic cells. Unicellular eukaryotes include the protist, while the multicellular eukaryotes includes a variety of plant, fungal, and animal species. Margulis created a book called The Origin of Eukaryotic Cell. According to her, mitochondria and chloroplasts evolved from ancient bacteria that were ingested by primitive nucleated cells called the theory of endosymbiosis. Eukaryotic cell organelles are also called as little organs. In addition to the nucleus, eukaryotic cells may contain several other types of organelles, which may include mitochondria, chloroplast, the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, and the lysosomes. Each of these organelles performs a specific function critical to the cell's survival. Despite differences in structure and function, all living cells in multicellular organisms have a surrounding plasma membrane, or also known as the cell membrane. As the outer layer of your skin separates your body from its environment, the plasma membrane separates the inner contents of a cell from its exterior environment. The plasma membrane can be described as a phospholipid bilayer with embedded proteins that controls the passage of organic molecules, ions, water, and oxygen into and out of the cell. Waste, such as carbon dioxide and ammonia, also leave the cell by passing through the membrane. The cell wall is a rigid covering that protects the cell, provides structural support, and gives shape to the cell. Fungal and persistent cells also have cell walls. While the chief component of prokaryotic cell walls is peptidoglycan, the major organic molecule in the plant cell was cellulose, a polysaccharide comprised of glucose units. When you bite into a raw vegetable like celery, it crunches. That's because you are tearing the rigid cell walls of the ciliary cells with your teeth. The cytoplasm is the gel-like fluid inside the cell. It is the medium for chemical reaction. It provides a platform upon which other organelles can operate within the cell. All the functions for cell expansion, growth, and replication are carried out in the cytoplasm of a cell.
Nucleus, the brain or the control center that directs all the activities. It is the largest organelle located in the center of the cell. It is a double membrane with holes that allows the material in and out of the nucleus. Ribosomes. It is responsible for making proteins. It is located around the cytoplasm and on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. It also can be found in both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. It is usually made up of protein and RNA. Proteins. It controls the chemical reactions in cell. The messages of how to make proteins are given by DNA. The endoplasmic reticulum or ER. It has two types, the smooth and rough ER. It is located near around the nucleus and throughout the cell. It is the membrane with many folds that functions as the part of the cell transport and delivery system. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, involved in protein making or synthesis. All proteins that are exported by the cell are made up on rough ER, and it is covered with ribosomes. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum contains no ribosomes, and it contains collection of enzymes that have specialized tasks and involved in making steroids, lipids, and cholesterol. The mitochondria, commonly known as the powerhouse of the cell. It is located all over the cell, and it has two membranes, the inner and the outer membranes. Inner membranes, or the cristae, folded to increase the surface area where the chemical reactions release energy, while the outer membrane, selectively permeable membrane that surrounds the mitochondria. Chloroplast. It is usually found in plants and algae cells, where photosynthesis takes place. Its function is to produce and store food. The chloroplast contains the green chlorophyll that traps the energy of sunlight and converts into the chemical energy.
Golgi apparatus. It is the post office of the cell. It is located in multiple places throughout cell. Its function stores proteins and prepares them for export out of cell. It packages and delivers materials in and out of the cell. Lysosomes. It is responsible for cleaning the cell. It destroys worn out or damaged organelles. It protects the cell from harmful products. Vacuoles. It has membrane-bound structures. It can be found in plant cell and animal cell. In plant cell, it is single large central vacuole. In animal cell, it has many small vacuoles. Function storage, mainly hold water, but can have food, salt, or pigments. Cytoskeleton. It has supporting structure and transportation system. It is the network of protein filaments that helps the cell to maintain its shape and to help the cell move. Microfilaments. It has thread-like structures. It is made by protein called actin. Assembly and disassembly helps the cells move. For example, amoebas. Centrioles. Centrioles are present in animal cells but not in plant cells. Centrioles are used for animal cells to reproduce. They release long, stiff fibers called microtubules and split the cell apart during cell division. Prokaryotic cell. The diagram shows the different organelles that can be found in prokaryotic cell, namely capsule, cell wall, plasma membrane, cytoplasm, ribosomes, plasmid, pili, bacterial flagellum, and nucleus, or circular DNA. Prokaryotes are single-celled organisms that are the earliest and the most primitive forms of life on Earth. Prokaryotic cells are not as complex as eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic organisms have varying cell shapes. The most common bacteria shapes are spherical, rod-shaped, and spiral.
Prokaryotic cell organelles. Capsule, found in some bacterial cells.
Function: additional outer covering for protection of the cell when it is engulfed by other organisms. Assist in retaining moisture and helps the cell adhere to surfaces and nutrients. Cell wall: an outer covering that protects the bacterial cell and gives it shape. Cell membrane: surrounds the cell cytoplasm and regulates the flow of substances in and out of the cell. Pili or pilus and fimbriae: hair-like structures on the surface of the cell that attach to other bacterial cells. Shorter pili called fimbriae help bacteria attach to surfaces. Fimbriae function in adhering to the environment. Pili or pilus: they are utilized in the mating process between cells called conjugation. Cilia and flagella are fine whip-like, hair-like structures that extend from the body of a variety of cells. They vary in terms of length and numbers and different types of cells, as well as patterns of movement. Function: they are used for motility. Ribosomes are cell structures responsible for protein production. Plasmids: small circular independent double-stranded DNA molecule. Function: used in recombinant DNA research to transfer genes between cells. Nucleoid region: area of the cytoplasm that contains the single bacterial DNA molecule. There is no membrane around DNA. Function: all cells' genetic information for structure and function is here.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks to the Group 4 presenters of Bachelor of Secondary Education Science 3A. Starting with Mr. Gary O. Martinez, Ms. Ana Blanca Mintoro, Mr. John Raymond Magari, Ms. Alvi Jane Omar, and Ms. Ferry Ann Pabel.